In today's episode, caused a stir at an international organization. Can't use the restroom before break? Okay. Deli slave gets tired of being abused because crybabies are full of baloney. So let's get started. Caused a stir at an international organization. As an avid follower of this group, I have decided to weigh in with a little anecdote of myself. Decades ago, 90s, I worked as an information researcher for a High Commissioner, HC, in an international organization. I had a junior position and was 26. During the first years, people at the head office started to reach out to me as well for little requests, as I pride myself to be thorough and fast. Someone in the head office took a liking to me, so when a temporary opening at head office required a process analyst, which I had studied as well, I was formally requested for secondment. The HC complied, and off I went to a different country. The relationship between head office and the field offices was strained for various reasons, and the red tape was worse than the Byzantine Empire. Now the project wasn't that interesting, record internal processes in HR and point out flaws, and less of challenge than initially presented, but it gave me a wonderful insight into the workings of the head office. Who decided what and where to go when you wanted an answer or a decision? Before long, the office of the HC started to direct requests to me if they needed anything from head office without invoking the dreaded red tape. As a junior, this was a definite boost for my self-confidence. A couple of weeks into my job, another international office called me. They had received guidance from the HC that if they wanted anything done at head office, they should call me. So in the time that followed, I would regularly receive calls asking me to arrange all sorts of things, which I did. In the meantime, I am still working on my project. Remember, I am still a junior. And then it all went pear-shaped. On a Monday morning, I received a call from the policy director of the HC. There will be a ministerial conference in the town of the head office, but there seems to be some doubt over the hotel arrangements. If they fax me the details, would I be so kind to go to the hotel this afternoon and talk it through with the general manager? Sure. So I take the afternoon off and arrange everything. The next morning I am called into the office of my department director, who is furious, and my manager is standing next to him with her arms crossed. I am not allowed to sit down, and I am asked where I was yesterday afternoon. Seeing no problems, I tell them about the call and the hotel. The director then tells me, in no uncertain terms, that I am not allowed to do work for other offices whilst on the payroll for this office. If I am to lift one finger, there would be grave consequences. Furthermore, pay will be deducted for my absence yesterday. I managed to get in that I took an afternoon off and did it in my own time, but they deem it unpaid leave anyway. In comes MC. Dejected, I sit at my desk, unable to fathom what I have done wrong. Later that day I get two calls, one from HC, and one from the other office, and I inform them that by instruction of the director I have been forbidden to do any tasks not related to my current position. Please go through regular channels. You can imagine how both reacted. The red tape in this organization is legendary. I get more calls from even higher ups in both offices, pleading me to bend the rules just a teeny bit. I mean, it is more of a guideline, wouldn't you say? I hold my ground and suggest they need to clear it with my manager or the director, but that my hands are tied. The next day the process repeats. The political director calls concerning the conference. Can I contact translators and go through the flight plan of the HC and staff with the limo company? No. What? And I repeat my mantra. He gets furious and starts shouting. Not at me, but the general incompetence of head office, with some choice words about certain directors there. The next morning my manager's secretary walks into my office. She is nervous. Please report to the Secretary General's (SG) office immediately. The tone lets me know something horrible is afoot. So I actually ran there. The SG's secretary greets me with a malicious grin. Oh, you have created quite a mess, have you? I still don't know what's going on, but could see my immediate termination in a not-so-distant future. As I walk in, there is the SG, my director, and my manager. The SG is fuming. He explains to me that a formal complaint is being prepared by the HC and the head of the other office over the lack of service from the head office. Whereby the HC had even hinted that the department was trying to derail a ministerial conference. This all due to the fact that it had come to their attention that people have been directly instructed not to assist the two offices. Is this true? Yes, I have been told that I am not allowed to perform any duties for any other office while on the payroll of this office. With me present, the SG looks at both and asks which idiot has decided this? The director states that he decided this based on the information from my manager. The SG tells him, well, this morning I have been shouted at by the HC and the head of office from the other office, and I don't like being shouted at. He looks at me and tells me, whenever you receive a request from those offices, I want you to execute these with priority and diligently. This overrides your assignment. If there is any discussion, refer to my office. However, you will report to me weekly on the nature of these requests. My office will confirm this in writing. I nod, say thank you, and get out of there. Inside, shouting ensues. The secretary winks at me with a broad smile. A right mess, it is. My head is spinning. Part of my work now falls under the direct supervision of the SG. From that time on, to the end of my secondment, I basically could do whatever I wanted. I attended the conference at the personal request of HC, and did everything that was asked of me. I continued to receive calls from the various offices, and ran errands for the SG office. I even went to other countries to have meetings there at the request of offices. I finished the project ahead of time, and became a go-to person for a lot of people, even when I returned to my own office. After I got back to my office, I received an immediate pay rise, new tasks, and a number of wonderful letters of recommendation. The HC and political director had personally asked for them, which helped tremendously when I changed positions years later. Although the HC has long since passed, I still remember him fondly as a man who had your back, no matter how junior or lowly your position. Can't use the restroom before break? Okay. So this took place several years ago, but something reminded of this story in another sub, and someone tagged this sub. I used to be a cashier at Aldi. For those of you guys that have never been to an Aldi store, up front the store policy is that they have one cashier working at a time who is expected to move very fast, and they don't open up additional registers unless more than 2 people are waiting behind the person checking out. This is because they only ever have 2 to 4 employees running the store at any given time to save on expenses. It's not the way I'd choose to run a grocery store, but it's how Aldi chooses to run theirs, so hey, not my call. So, after a few months of busting my butt ringing, I get pulled into the office. I'm freaking out trying to figure out what I could have done. Apparently my crime was that I needed to stop using the restroom immediately after 5+ hours locked into place ringing, or I would be written up for time clock fraud. The time clock is located in the back, and the restroom's up front by the cash register, so after holding it for hours, so I can keep ringing uninterrupted without having to call another employee off the floor and affect their precious statistics, they expect me to walk all the way across the store to clock out, and then spend 5+ minutes of my half-hour break trekking back across the store twice on my own time to use the restroom. Being a person who knows their OSHA rights, I simply just stopped holding it till break. From then on I always made sure to shut down my lane to go to the restroom right when I needed to go, usually like 3 hours into working, instead waiting to be let up, requiring someone to come off the floor for at least 10 minutes or so to open a lane. They could have just had the 2 to 3 minutes it takes me to go to the bathroom affecting their daily stats, but now it's 10 to 15 minutes of pulling someone off the floor instead. Very good for efficiency stats. Deli slave gets tired of being abused because crybabies are full of baloney. Unsuspecting person Chuck, not their real name, equals Upchuck, got hired into the mall Wart Deli, much to their sadness. Management chumps equals chumps, abuse those who work there every day for their own reasons. Customer crybaby equals crybaby. Customers who are nice enough elsewhere in the store are abusive to the deli workers without fail. It is a mystery, but they are full of baloney, so that might explain it. Upchuck was sick of working in the deli. They hated working in the deli. They loathed working in the deli. They were so unhappy they would be crying while working in the mall-wart deli. Misery day in, day out. The chumps would not move Upchuck because Upchuck was good and conscientious at their job. Upchuck was pretty good at guessing how much to cut to end up with the weight at the thickness the abusive crybabies wanted, but wasn't perfect since everything weighs differently. So Crybaby comes and asks for 1 pound, about 454 grams, of cheese cut medium thickness, a completely useless, meaningless description, like the word beigeish. Upchuck cuts a piece and asks if that's okay, and it is. Upchuck cuts a bunch onto the sheet of paper, and goes to weigh it. Upchuck had cut way too much, like half a pound too much, but knows they will just have to throw it away anyway since it cannot be sold to anyone else, so they put a last piece on, which puts it over by 0.06 pounds, about 27 grams, which most customers don't mind, and prints out the cost label, then adds all the rest of the extra they cut by mistake, and puts it in the bag with the price label on it and gives it to Crybaby. Crybaby got extra without paying extra and Upchuck doesn't need to throw any away. Everybody is happy. Or so Upchuck thought. Upchuck goes on to wait on other crybabies snapping and foaming at the mouth at them as usual. Then the original crybaby comes back angry that Upchuck didn't give them 1 pound, they made it 1.06 pounds. Obviously trying to make more money for the mall-wart deli at the expense of the customers. No, Upchuck couldn't care less about making the mall-wart deli any extra money or not. The deli throws away food all day long, every day. That's where they lose money. Crybaby demanded there only be what Crybaby asked for, 1 pound, not more. Fine. Wonderful. No good deed goes unpunished. Just fine. Just fine. So Upchuck takes it all out of the bag and removes about a third of it and adds back up to just at or under 1 pound, shows that, adds a piece, it will be over, takes it off. Adds the extra to the big pile still in their hand, prints out the label, then throws the extra on the tray next to the slicer as waste. Crybaby starts objecting that they wanted the amount over 1 pound taken off, not a third of it. Upchuck shows that it is just at or below 1 pound now, more would have put it over, and explains they cut too much, but decided just to give it to the Crybaby so they didn't have to throw it away. Crybaby says to just put it back on then. Upchuck says no, they can't, it's already thrown away. Crybaby says they can see it sitting on the tray. Upchuck says yes, so now it's contaminated and can't be sold to anybody. Nothing is sold to anybody if it isn't put on the paper, not just this instance, it's a food safety issue. Crybaby wants more cut, and that it be given to them free. Upchuck says they can cut more, but can't just give it to Crybaby, they would have to charge for it, they have already cost the deli more by throwing some away. Crybaby cannot come up with any good reason why they should be given any free, and realizes they just messed up, because by having their tantrum over 0.06 pounds, about 27 grams, of cheese they cheated themselves out of about half a pound, about 227 grams, of free cheese. Malicious compliance achieved. Thanks for watching.